Mr. Weaver for Edmunds with the 2026 Chevrolet Corvette ZR1X with the focus on the X. Put simply, this is a hybrid version of the already extraordinary ZR1, adding not just yet more power, but also, critically, all-wheel drive. To be honest, it's not much of a surprise. Prototype's been running around for months, but what is a bit shocking is the name. The internet and even AI was convinced that it was going to be called Zora after the legendary Corvette engineer Zora Arcos Duntov. But it's not, at least not officially. Let's see if it sticks. To say the X takes the hybrid system from the Corvette E-Ray and adds it to the ZR1 would be selling it short. The power and torque of the electric motor have both been increased to 186 horsepower and 145 pounds-feet. This is significant because when combined with the 1064 horsepower V8, you get a magic number of 1250 horsepower in a car that weighs around 250 pounds more. The overall torque figure hasn't been confirmed, but somewhere north of 950 pounds-feet would be a sensible guesstimate. Blimey. The performance goals are convention-defying. The engineers were telling me they're seeing 1.3 G of acceleration through second gear and are targeting 0 to 60 in under 2 seconds. But GM does tend to quote 0 to 60 with rollout. And here at Edmunds, we don't. Will it be the first car at our test track to do 0 to 60 in under 2 seconds? Guess we'll have to wait till next year to find out. Another key target they were talking about is 1 G of lateral and longitudinal acceleration simultaneously. That's cornering and accelerating to you and I. That's a key benefit both of the torque of the hybrid system and the benefits of the all-wheel drive traction. Another big focus of all-wheel drive was making the ZR1's remarkable performance more accessible to a broader range of drivers. With that in mind, there's a host of new tech, including a qualifying mode that optimizes the motor and battery for single lap pace. Plus, there's a push to pass button in case the 1064 horsepower from the V8 engine isn't enough to get the job done. If you watched our drive video on the ZR1, you'll see that we introduced the Corvette's new interior, and of course, this being 26, it features the latest edition. You also get some cool new gauges on the height for the hybrid system, electric power and torque, engine power and torque, and I love over here you can see the engine boost on this additional screen. Fun stuff. In common with the standard ZR1, the X will be available with the track package and huge aero accessories, or you can have in what the engineers like to call the Executive Express version, which loses the aero and has a more kind of road-focused suspension setup. When I drove the ZR1 on the Circuit of the Americas track here in Texas, I was hugely impressed by the way that it stopped. But the engineers have gone further still, completely overhauling the braking system on this, the ZR1X. Everyone at Chevy is remaining tight-lipped about how much the ZR1X will cost. But if you consider that the E-Ray version of the Stingray costs an extra $40,000, you might imagine a similar price differential here. This is the first production Corvette we can think of with an MSRP north of $200,000, and the fully equipped version might be touching $3,000. That's a staggering sum, of course, but Chevy is claiming the forthcoming McLaren W1 and Ferrari F80 as rivals, and they cost 10 and 20 times as much. The Ford GTD does line up more closely on price, but its performance figures, on paper at least, won't come close to matching the Chevy. It'd be interesting to see whether people buy this car because they must have the ultimate Corvette, or whether the standard ZR1 remains the purist enthusiast choice. Me, I'll reserve judgment until I've driven this one. First customers should have their cars early next year, and we can't wait to run the numbers both at the Edmunds test track and on the Edmunds U-Drags course. Will it set new records at both?